In a Christmas-lit city, where snow falls softly and lights warm the heart, two lonely souls meet by chance. Emily, an artist who forgot how to believe. Mike, an architect afraid of staying. One moment, one cup of hot chocolate, and a love born from small details. But distance tests the heart. Time asks difficult questions. And Christmas brings hope back again. This is a story about choice. About waiting. About a home built without walls. Because true love is always finding your way back.
Love Stories Max. Welcome to my channel. Enjoy watching, friends.
The Christmas that taught us how to love. My name is Emily. I have always loved Christmas. The smell of cinnamon. The soft glow of fairy lights. The way snow gently settles over the city like a careful promise. But that year, Christmas found me different. Quieter. Emptier. I worked as a children's book illustrator for a small publishing house. My work was beautiful, but lonely. Long evenings at my desk, hot tea cooling beside me, music without words, drawings that sometimes felt more alive than my own life. A few months before Christmas, I had gone through a painful breakup. Someone I loved walked away, leaving behind silence and unfinished sentences. I learned how to smile again, but not how to feel joy. That December evening, I left my studio later than usual. Snow was falling heavily, street lights glowing softly, and the air smelled like cocoa drifting from nearby cafes. I hurried home, holding a paper bag with new paints, my small Christmas gift to myself. And then I collided with someone. "I'm so sorry," we said it at the same time. He was holding a box with a Christmas wreath and several paper bags filled with ornaments. One glass ball slipped out, rolling across the snow. "Well, looks like Christmas wanted us to meet," he said with a warm smile as he picked it up. That was the first time I saw Mike. He had tired eyes, but a gentle, honest smile. He told me he was an architect, working on restoring old buildings. This was his first Christmas alone. His sister had moved abroad, and his parents lived in another city. We stepped into a small cafe nearby, just to warm up. I remember how he took off his gloves, his fingers red from the cold. He ordered hot chocolate. I chose orange and clove tea. We talked about small things, snow, the city, childhood memories. But between the words, there was something else. A silence that felt safe. I didn't notice how an hour passed. After that, we started meeting, by accident, too often to be coincidence. He waited for me outside my studio with coffee. I drew small Christmas sketches for him. Houses with glowing windows, people in scarves, tiny hearts hidden among snowflakes. We walked through evening streets, counting fairy lights, laughing when snow slipped into our collars. But Mike carried a shadow. One night, he told me he had been offered a major project in another city. A one-year contract, the opportunity of his life. He was afraid to get attached. Afraid of leaving, or being left. I stayed silent, because I was afraid too. On Christmas Eve, we argued. He said maybe we should stop before it hurt more. I told him I didn't want to be temporary. Snow fell quietly as our words cut deeper than the cold. Then he left. That night, I cried sitting on the floor beside my small Christmas tree. The lights blinked softly, as if they didn't understand my pain. And in the morning, there was a knock at the door. Mike stood there, holding one of my drawings, the one I once gave him as a joke. Two people standing under Christmas lights. "I don't want to run," he said. "I want to build, not just buildings." I cried and laughed at the same time, holding him as if he might disappear. That Christmas, we watched the sunrise together, with coffee, warm blankets, and a quiet belief that love sometimes arrives when your heart is already tired of waiting. And ever since then, when snow falls, I remember. The warmest Christmas is the one where you are not alone. After that Christmas morning, life changed its rhythm. Mike stayed, not forever, but long enough for us to learn how to be together. We rented a small apartment on the third floor of an old building Mike once dreamed of restoring. The windows were always glowing. I filled the space with candles. He filled it with sketches and architecture books. We joked that our home always smelled like coffee or paint. Mornings became our quiet celebrations. Mike brewed coffee and left little notes on the table. "Don't forget to smile. You are my home." I drew him while he slept. His peaceful face felt like proof that love could be quiet and deep. We built our routine carefully, like something fragile. Grocery shopping together, small arguments, late-night apologies under one blanket. He taught me not to fear plans. I taught him not to run from feelings. And then distance arrived. One evening, Mike came home silent. He stood by the window, looking at the city. "They confirmed the project," he said. 1 year, another city. My heart tightened. I knew this moment would come. Knowing didn't make it easier. We decided to try. Phone calls became our dates. I fell asleep with my phone in my hand, listening to his breathing. He sent photos of buildings and wrote, "Something is missing here." I lived between deadlines, illustrations, and lonely evenings. Sometimes jealousy and fear were stronger than faith. We argued over nothing, which was really about missing touch. The silence between calls hurt the most. One night, I said maybe we were tired. Maybe love at a distance was too painful. He arrived the next day, standing at my door, with the same warm smile and tired, red eyes. "I won't let kilometers decide for us," he said. "If I have to wait, I will. If I have to come back, I will." We cried together on the kitchen floor, holding hands like we might lose each other. Time passed. We learned to wait, to trust, to be together even when we were apart. And then Christmas came again. I returned home after a long day and found the apartment glowing with lights. A Christmas tree stood in the corner. Under it, a small box. Mike was there. "I finished the project," he said. And I realized something more important than any building. He went down on one knee. "Emily, you are my home. Will you let me build a life with you?" I don't remember my voice when I said yes. Only the snow outside the window. Only the lights reflected in his eyes. True love isn't when it's always easy. It's when you choose each other, even across distance. Our wedding was not loud. We didn't want a show. We wanted truth. It was late spring. The air smelled like apple blossoms and fresh grass. I woke early, not from anxiety, from peace. I stared at the ring on my finger, afraid it might vanish. Mike waited for me in the courtyard of an old building he once showed me in sketches. He restored it almost by hand, as a symbol of us. White ribbons on chairs, fairy lights instead of arches. When I reached him, he whispered, "You look like you've always been my wife." I laughed through tears. Our vows were simple. I promised to stay even when he went silent. He promised to always come back, no matter the distance. When we kissed, music filled the courtyard. We danced barefoot on the grass as the sun set behind old stone walls. Our first night as husband and wife was spent on the floor of our apartment, pizza, candles, laughter, and the feeling that the world finally made sense. Marriage wasn't a fairy tale. It was life. We learned to share space and time. I adjusted to his quiet mornings. He learned my need to talk before sleep. We argued about dishes, about my paints everywhere, about his late-night sketches. But we always found each other again. The first year was about learning. The second, about endurance. Mike worked on a demanding project. I lost a major publishing contract and doubted myself. Evenings were quiet, tea growing cold between us. One night, I cried during dinner. What if one day we stop being us? I asked. He held my face gently. Us is a choice, and I choose us every day. Those words became our anchor. We created traditions. Sunday pancakes, winter walks through the streets where we met, summer trips without plans. 3 years later, we bought a small house, old, creaky, imperfect. Mike looked at it the way he once looked at me, with belief. I filled the walls with my drawings. He built me a bright studio facing the garden. Evenings found us on the porch, holding hands, sharing warm silence. Love isn't a moment, it's 1,000 small choices. And every time Mike comes home, takes off his coat, and smiles at me, I know. This home isn't walls. This home is us. This story is not about perfect love. It is about real love. About people who enter our lives when our hearts are already tired of waiting, yet still brave enough to hope. About meetings that seem accidental, but quietly change everything. Love doesn't begin loudly. It starts with small things. A warm smile on a cold evening, a cup of hot chocolate, a silence that feels safe. True feelings are tested by distance, by time, by the fear of loss. Sometimes it feels easier to let go than to wait. But love is not the absence of pain. It is the choice to stay, even when it hurts. Marriage is not the end of a story. It is its beginning. It is the daily work of two hearts learning to listen, forgive, and return to each other. Love is not the walls of a house. It is the hands that find you in the dark. The words spoken softly, but at the right moment. The decision to choose us again and again. And if one day you feel fear, loneliness, or doubt, remember. True love does not promise an easy road, but it never leaves you alone.